peoples. Can you say hi? Hi. Yeah. There we go, buddy. What's going on? Can you say hi to everybody? Hi. Yeah. What's up, guys? We're over here just bopping around. Oh, are you being shy? Where's Hudson? Hi, guys. Oh, yeah, buddy. Cool. Let's get to work. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hey, Jeremy, what's up? Live from Kabul. What's up? I see what's up. All right, cool, man. Let's go do what we got to do. Ready? Did you get this inside one? Cool. So let's go. So we got on the QQQs right now. You know, we're getting a little bit of weakness in the market. Yeah, bud. We're getting a little bit of weakness in the market over here. You know, we very well may come down and touch these lows. Right now, what we essentially are is kind of mid-range, right? You know, we had a little bit of a pop yesterday into resistance, and now we're kind of floating back. And so, you know, what we need to do is this market needs to kind of come in here and remount these moving averages, because if they don't, this is going to turn into a bear flag essentially, and then, you know, we'll have lower prices. So that'll be something to really keep mind of when we're kind of watching this thing. I was expecting a sharper bounce yesterday, to be honest, and now we're kind of gapping down. We'll see if we go red to green, but, you know, very well we could just come down and retest these old lows. And if we break below those, we won't have any support till really 174, maybe even 172. Hey, buddy. So we'll kind of keep an eyeball on these things. In the meantime, hey, Robin, how you doing? In the meantime, you know, there are some good gappers and stuff today. So I think, you know, one of the things that we'll do as the market's getting more wild like this, you know, what we need to do is really focus in on bigger name stocks that have good range. So we still got SQ that's on support here right off the 50 SMA. As long as this holds here, I think this thing's a long back into the 90s. We've got ACAT here for still a flag pattern that has not triggered. I've got an alert set at about $22 if this thing breaks back over. We've got AMD sitting on a monster support at the 50 SMA. Guys, when you get a bull market run like this, you don't get very many tests of the 50 SMA. Like you can see in AMD. So the 50 SMA is your intermediate term moving average, right? So when you have your intermediate term moving average, that's the main one that we watch as like swing traders. So you only get a few tests of that on a momentum stock, like in any given, you know, in any given year. And so, you know, as long as this holds, this is actually going to be pretty bullish. You know, at least for people that like to trade momentum and like high beta names. So I do like this one. It's going to be more of a matter of, you know, does the market hold or not? You know, Roku's the same way. Like you don't get so many tests of these in a given year. When you get a hot momentum stock that's up, you know, a double or a triple, that's where, you know, you got to go with this. HPNV, so I'm trading off of HPNV right now, and frankly, the fan sucks. And like you can probably hear my fan just running. It runs really hot. So I'd probably go with like something just more standard, like a Lenovo. Those things are built like rocks. So this thing's gone from 75 to 64. So we've got nice support here. It's a matter of it just holding and starting to reverse. You got to need, when you're trying to time bounces can be trickier than breakouts for one reason, that when you're trying to catch a bounce, you're getting internally, right, short-term weakness that makes the tape look really bad, and then the bounce will come out of nowhere. And so that ends up being just like really, really tricky when we're doing this. But, you know, those are all going to be really good names. I think on the PR side, and this thing's already breaking out bastard, but this NIO just had news out, and it looks like, you know, the news that says essentially major Tesla investor Bailey Gifford holds 11.44% of NIO. NIO extends rally, blah, 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 blah. So who knows what that even fucking means, but right, essentially, NIO is like the Chinese Tesla. So them having gathering a big investor just gives it legitimacy that, you know, this company is real, that another billionaire is investing in it, so on and so forth. You can see this thing is down from $14, and we had a really nice kind of base breakout over here. So base breakout can be a very powerful pattern, right? So that's when you get like a big pop up, and then you come back down at least 50%. So the key is like a good base breakout. You got to be down 50% or more off the highs. As you're down 50% or more off the highs, when you start to round and you kind of creep over your first moving average, that can trigger a base breakout pattern, which is a very powerful pattern. And so we'll watch this thing. I would not chase this thing at the open. It's got a higher float. It trades really thick. It very well may spike at the open and pull back hard. When it pulls back, that's when you're probably going to want to hit it. You want to do more of a pullback type of trade where, like, you know, hold on here. Why are people calling me? Right, so you want to do more of like a pullback type of trade where, you know, like you can see like something like this, like you get like this big pop up at the open, and then you come back down and then you thrust, right? You know, that's like your ideal type of pullback play. You know, just draw a trend line to get it going, and you're good to go. So just something to kind of keep an eye on with this NIO. If it's going to trade, you know, it's better to hit this thing on the pullback. Fast is a decent one on the gap downside, I think. You know, you got earnings out on this bad boy. You're already getting kind of smoked out pre-market on this one. You can see longer term, this is a rollover pattern. You know, as this thing has popped up, it started to roll over where you're making lower highs and lower highs and lower highs. And so that'll be something that we're watching for an opening range breakdown pattern. Right, so don't chase it. If you're shorting it, you don't want to be chasing it at the open, right? Let it pop up, let it come down, and it either ORBs. But the better pattern has been on these gap down plays. This is the better pattern. When you get the big gap down, let it pop into your EMAs, and then when they fizzle back under the VWAP, that's been a really hot pattern. That's what we call a VWAP fizzle pattern. Where, you know, once you break back under the VWAP, but you got to have that 9 EMA really curl it on top of it. That fizzler has been like a rock solid pattern for us all year. So just something to kind of keep an eye on. I'd go with the fizzler over anything. You are getting a pre-market move on NBES. It looks like, hey, buddy. It looks like, you know, they're doing some stuff with their CBD energy drink or whatever. So it's the Red Bull for pot stocks. You know, this may get some juice. The question is going to be, if it pops, like, does it stall out here at the 9 EMA on the daily, or does it get over, right? So if it can get over, then you've got a little bit more room. But if it just spikes up and then starts to fade at the 9 EMA, then that to me is going to be something that, Anthony, are you not able to see the numbers? What's going on? You've been in 10 classes now. You don't know what a daily chart looks like? Now you got this thing coming back down, so you need this thing to kind of pop cruise back over there. That's going to be the nature of the game. Hey, Matt, let me look, Danny. I think one thing you should do is put this TVIX on watch. You know, if the market breaks the lows, then I think this one is going to be, this one could come out and kind of test these highs over here. So you can see you're kind of a longer term. You're in a longer term kind of range over here. And so this thing's got to kind of bust out of here and then get this thing moving. But you know, you are coming off a bottom here. The one thing to think about on the TVIX, though, these two candles. What do these two candles mean? Because they're solid. When you get solid candles like this, essentially what it's saying is that it's popping and then kind of rolling over during the day, which could indicate a change in structure in the stock, right? Or the ticker, meaning that, right, it's closing weak, and so that the market actually may be kind of trying to reverse back and rebound. So I'd keep an eye on something like this. It could, I wouldn't chase this thing on strength, but really make sure you have got a proper setup over here. But TVIX is a good ETF to keep because obviously, obviously when you have, market volatility, then this is a good one, both long and short. If you can find borrows for it. Hey, BB, what's up? STM. STM's an ADR. STM's an ADR. And so you got all these kind of spaces in this. So what ends up happening when you have like a thing like an STR is that you have no like intraday range. It just gaps, and then it just gaps and stays around. So that's something just to kind of keep in mind of, like, right, your intraday range on this is not that huge. Hey, Rod, what's up, baby? J&J. J&J. Johnson and Johnson is the place to be. Yeah, NVCN, I got that on my list too. Johnson & Johnson looks okay. Like, this is going to be one of those ones, like, if it kind of comes out of this range right here, I mean, it hasn't fallen much with the market weakness. That can happen because Johnson & Johnson is like more of a defense stock, not a defense as in like defense company, but a defensive stock. So when the market gets weak, these do tend to not lose as much. But if it comes out of this range right here, I'd keep an eyeball on this thing. NVCN's holding up so far, right? You got this breakout, pull back. I think this thing probably comes out of range. The one thing is with the daily chart, and this is so Ganar, I probably personally won't trade this, but what can you do, man? That is the nature of the game. So remember, game plan for today, keep an eye on the bigger names, the ones that have more liquidity because they'll have range. Then the other thing that we'll want to be doing is really make sure that, we're able to go both long and short. And yes, I am holed up in my buddy's laundry room because I had to evacuate my home. Man, everybody's making fun of me in the laundry room. When you run from your home, this is the only place you got, man. My buddy's got me his cat room. What can you do? All right, guys. Let's be good today. Do what you got to do. And as always, let's hit this bad boy like men of honor. All right? Rock and roll. If I could